straight up, nationally, Democratic Party to me is a mess with a side of corruption. They're taking a lot of the same money from Republicans.
Correct.
I've spoken with people about the Florida Democratic Party. I know, you're a Democrat, but I've heard you are actually, and a small group, are actually fighting for working class issues and trying to push the party here to the left, to working class issues. But a lot of these Democrats here are taking cash from real estate developers, Disney, big corporations. I mean, people look at that and say, all right, DeSantis is bad, but you're not giving me anything to vote for.
Yeah.
Can you talk about the Democratic Party here? Because they're, to me, not just in Orlando, but St. Pete, Tampa, Miami, they're taking a lot of the same money and then making excuses why we can't do rent control and things like that.
Yeah, it's a really, really good point. Sometimes I feel like the culture wars also give Democrats cover. Because imagine if there were no culture wars and you were just voting on economic issues or regulatory issues, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference, right? I look at issues like Big Sugar, where only 7 of us voted against a liability shield for the sugar industry to continue burning sugarcane, which is negatively impacting Black and brown communities and their air quality. You look at Florida Power and Light, one of the country's largest utilities with the parent company NextEra, 11 million customers in Florida. And they just pursued a attack on rooftop solar.
Right.
And Democrats voted for this bill because they take money from NextEra and FPL. And so it's incredibly frustrating because, part of my mission in doing this work is to help folks realize that when you vote Democrat, your life will improve. Like, we'll focus on solving these problems. But then I look at my peers and I'm like, oh, well, I can't always say that, right? Like, I'll work to solve your problems, but I have to challenge my own party because they are time and time again siding with the biggest of corporations and completely ignoring our working class heroes. And so it is a challenge. And it's also driven by consultants. In the Florida Democratic Party, there are many consultants who also represent corporations.
Right.
It cracks me up. Like, we hire lobbyists to be, the Democratic brains behind different campaigns. And they're representing some of the grossest and anti-small business and monopolistic companies there are, which is the antithesis of what our values tell us to uphold. So it has been a deep and serious challenge. I take a lot of pride in flipping this legislative seat in 2018, keeping it in 2020, and winning 2 precincts that voted for Trump.
Right.
And I say that because I think that when you care about the needs of everyday people and you really focus on those pocketbook issues, those economic issues, those worker class issues, that you actually can appeal to folks of different political persuasions. But if you are just going to continue to toe this generic line and not stand up for those who need representation, then we're going to continue to fail to actually appeal to the people of Florida.
Well, also, I spoke with some LGBTQ students yesterday who are under direct attack with this Don't Say Gay bill. And even them, of course, they were talking about Republicans around the country and just the maliciousness and the heinousness. But they brought up the problem with the Democratic Party. Okay, you're there for us on these issues, but you're emboldening the Republicans by not fighting. They said, the response to Republicans moving to the batshit right is not to move to the center.
Right.
And do you think, whether in the Florida Democratic Party or elsewhere, it's just a straight up corruption problem?
Yeah.
You have Republicans who are corrupt and taking money, but you also have Democrats who are nicer sounding, rhetorically better on social justice issues, LGBTQ issues. But if you're hoarding money from Disney, if you're hoarding money from Florida Power and Light, that's obviously a blinking red light conflict of interest.
100%. Yeah. Obviously getting money out of politics is a key point to this, but when we don't have those laws to prohibit that type of contributions, then you need to have the ethics to say, well, I'm not going to take that money. I'm not going to solicit that money. I'm not going to beg for it. And it is a serious challenge that we've experienced for a very long time in Florida, where the Democratic Party's major funders are corporations, compared to an individual candidate who can work in a different way like I do to raise grassroots funds. But what is the party doing to also help new candidates have that capacity. And that's the conversation I've been having with a lot of my peers too, is trying to help my colleagues do grassroots fundraising, because it's really interesting. Like, even when you look at some of our districts of low wealth, it is challenging for those Democrats to raise money because their communities are just low wealth, right? Like, that is the years of neglect and generational poverty and systematic disparities. And so I'm doing my part to help those Democrats raise money in other districts, right? Introduce them to other people. Like, here in District 47, we are very unique because I have folks who are some of the wealthiest zip codes in the state. And then I have folks who are living in their cars and folks who live in hotels and motels. I have to be intentional in bringing all those different experiences together and build a multi-class, a multiracial, and multi-generational coalition for transformational change. It is not easy. You can't do it without knocking on doors and meeting folks and going to their homes and really listening and solving problems. But that is the key to a Democratic win in Florida. You know, folks have asked me all the time, are you a red state now, or are you still a purple state? And I say, we're a rainbow state. Like, you have to build a rainbow color coalition to actually win, especially statewide. And it's frustrating because folks are just doing things the same way they always do it, with a lot of assumptions that if you're young, if you're black, if you're brown, you're going to vote Democrat. If you're a woman, you're going to vote Democrat. You have to earn it. Right. You have to fight for it. And I think it's this notion of, like, taking communities for granted, which is what it sounds like our LGBT plus youth are expressing. We can't keep doing that. We can't make assumptions about the electorate. We have to earn and win their support.
Thanks for watching, and make sure to tune in to Status Coup's daily live stream Monday through Thursday at 5 o'clock Eastern Time and Fridays at 4 o'clock Eastern Time.